Hi, and welcome to our reading roundup for July.
Today we're going to take a look at all the books that we read during the month of July.
We've read some good ones. It's been a fun reading month, so we're excited to share them with you.
So let's go ahead and get started.
So we're starting off today with our Catholic read-along book from Sophia Institute Press for July, and it's this one, The Devout Life by Deacon Matthew Newsom. And it is a modern guide to practical holiness with St. Francis de Sales.
So it is based on St. Francis de Sales' classic book, Introduction to the Devout Life, but it takes it a step further, and the author breaks down all of his teachings in short chapters that end with reflection questions.
And we just love how he put a modern spin on everything because, a lot has changed since St. Francis de Sales was alive 400 years ago. So there's a lot going on in our modern society that maybe St. Francis didn't have to deal with. So the author takes all the classic wisdom and applies it to our modern times.
For example, in the chapter on fasting, he talks about how the norms for fasting have changed. Now there's confusion about what it is and what it isn't and how it's evolved. So he breaks all that down and it's very helpful.
There's also a chapter on chastity that addresses the modern challenges that we have in our hookup culture of today. And then there's a section that talks about the benefits of having a spiritual advisor and what to do if you don't have one. So for me, that was really helpful.
And he also gives you meditations in case you want to do an at-home retreat.
So we thought this was an excellent book all around. We read it, we loved it, and we could definitely see ourselves reading it again, especially using it as a type of workbook.
So it could be good for Lent or maybe even Advent. So thumbs up, 5 stars here.
Okay, so my first book is Having a Merry Heart in a Martha World, the classic by Joanna Weaver. The whole premise of the book is how to slow down and sit at Jesus's feet like Mary instead of being busy all the time like Martha. So I really liked how the author talks about the 3 Ds that the devil uses against us: deception, discouragement, and distraction. Distraction is a big one for me. And I also like the story she tells about how we have to pit our will against our emotions. Like we might be willing to go pray more, but our emotions are always going to say, no, we're too busy or we don't want to. There were other things in the book that I didn't like so much. For example, she holds up St. Simon Stylite, the pillar saint, as an example of the ridiculous. A pillar saint is someone who lived on a high platform, like 30 feet up in the air, just praying to God and honoring God for his whole life. And so she says, no, God doesn't want us to do weird things like that. There's no need. Well, I thought, you're just missing the whole point there. St. Simon did these radical things out of pure love for God. I mean, how awesome is that? And so I don't think that we can really say that's ridiculous or not important to God. Another point about the book that I found just kind of sad was that as a Protestant, she doesn't have access to the sacraments of the Catholic Church. So for her, getting closer to God means like spending more time on the couch with your Bible and having that prayer time, which is good. Definitely we should do that. But she's missing out on the beautiful sacraments. That she's not able to spend time in adoration with Jesus or receive him in the Holy Eucharist. I mean, if you want to talk personal relationship with Jesus, it doesn't get any more personal than receiving him in Holy Communion. So overall, I really did enjoy the book, but because I just felt like it gives you half the picture of how to grow in holiness, I only am giving it 3.5 stars.
So my first book today is a very interesting nonfiction book, and it is The Inbetween: Unforgettable Encounters During Life's Final Moments. So the author of this book is a hospice nurse, and this is sort of her story of how she got into that line of work and some of the incredible things she has encountered there. So I first came across her on YouTube Shorts, I believe, and when I started checking out her page, I saw that she had written a book, and I was like, ooh, that looks really good, I want to read that. So it is the stories of 12 of her patients and the things that she did for them, their situations, and the things that she learned from them. Some of the stories that she tells in this book are absolutely incredible. There are stories of her humoring patients at the end of their lives, and then that having massive effects later on, even life-saving effects. So some of the things she has witnessed in this book are absolutely incredible. It is also sort of the story of how she came to believe again in an afterlife because of her patients. The book is not overly religious, and I wouldn't say all of her beliefs align with my own, but it's nothing drastic or uncomfortable, and the main focus of the book is on her patients and their stories. So there is just so much to unpack in this book. Again, some of the stories and some of the things she has witnessed is truly incredible, and it is a great insight into the end of life and the end of life care. So I would say this is good for teens and adults. I had a really good time reading it, and I gave it about 4 stars.
So my next book is A London Family by Molly Hughes, which is actually 3 books in one. And this was part of my big birthday book haul last year. So I finally finished it. So good. It is the true story of Molly Hughes, who grew up in London in the late 1800s into the World War I, World War II era. She had 4 brothers, all older than she. She had an excellent education. She worked as a teacher in London for 10 years before she finally was able to marry her husband. And how they met is another fascinating story, but I'm not going to give you any spoilers. One of my favorite parts of the book was when she went to see the World Fair in Chicago in, I think, 1893. So it was so much fun to see the US and Canada through her eyes. So definitely this is a great series. If you like Anne of Green Gables, Little Women, Little House on the Prairie, then you're probably going to like this one as well. It also helps that the author is very talented. She's a great writer. She has that fun, subtle English sense of humor that I really love. Now, not all the stories in this one are happy, of course, because it is real life. So definitely that taps into that Anne of Green Gables, Little House flavor. But again, I enjoyed it so much, and there's a sequel to this one called A London Family Between the Wars that I actually read several years ago, but I am definitely going to go back and reread it now that I know all the behind the scenes that led up to that book. So I give the whole series 5 out of 5 stars.
So my other books for today are books 1 and 2 in the Wanderers Trilogy, The Perilous Quest, and The Fountain of Oblivion. So I have been in the middle of book 2 for over a month now, but it's fine. We're getting there. It's been very slow reading. I haven't had a lot of time to read, but I've had a lot of fun with this book. So the trilogy is a very classic adventure tale. It follows a group of teens who have to come together to save their world from a growing evil. They all have secrets, they all have pasts in this world full of magic and danger. The trilogy heavily focuses around the water and around sailing, which is really cool. I think that's an element they did really well. So if you like that type of thing, I think you'll really like this book. It also reminds me kind of a lot of Lord of the Rings. That's definitely the vibe I get from it. The books are direct continuations of each other, like Lord of the Rings. So I think that's really cool, and that's something that you don't see that often. So these 2 books are indie published, and they are done by a sibling group, which I think is really cool also, that they came together to co-write these books. So they have been a lot of fun for me. The stories are completely clean also, and it's just full of lots of fun, adventure, and family. It's gripping, but it's heartwarming at the same time. So I have definitely enjoyed this. I literally read the first book in a day. So if you want some fun adventure reading, I would definitely recommend picking this up.
On Hoopla this month, I listened to this book, Catholic Hipster Next Generation, which is a sequel to the Catholic Hipster Handbook, and it was very good. It's a series of essays written by several different Catholic authors on random topics like their favorite saint or their favorite prayer or their favorite lost Catholic tradition. There's a lot of humor in this book and a lot of good information. For example, there's a chapter that addresses the Ember and Rogation days and gives a really good explanation. Those aren't things that the church observes officially anymore, but they're still a thing and you can still do them. And this chapter walks you through how to do that. If you're a Flannery O'Connor fan, then this book has a chapter on her life and works and how to take a Flannery O'Connor road trip in Georgia, which sounds really fun and definitely something that we might have to do in the near future. So you might be thinking, well, maybe I'm not a Catholic hipster. Will I enjoy this book? And the answer is yes. You don't have to have a JP2 tattoo or a rescue dog named Ignatius to enjoy this one. And you don't have to have read the original book, the Catholic Hipster Handbook, to enjoy this one. They're standalone either way. You can start with either one. So overall, I thought this one was a lot of fun and very useful and helpful. So I'm giving it 4 out of 5 stars. And then last, I have a fun, quick little bonus book, Christmas in July, A Very Vintage Christmas by Rob Richter. This was just a really fun, quick read. He collects Christmas decorations and ornaments. He's been doing this since he was like 9, and he has a collection with over 2,000 objects in it. So I just love looking at all the beautiful pictures of Christmas, and it was fun to look at all the decorations and different ornaments and see if I could recognize any, like from my grandma or from my mother. It would be fun to revisit this one at Christmas during Advent maybe. But yeah, if you're just really looking for something different and unusual, this could fit the bill. Okay, so there you go, our reads for July. We definitely had a lot of fun and interesting books.
So let us know down in the comments what you read during the month of July. You definitely always give us good ideas.
So we hope you enjoyed the video today. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.